Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Lesson 6 of the Start Building Your Website Here tutorial series. Today we are doing the first lesson in how to create a professional website using WordPress and Thesis2. Now, I've taught this class several times before, and currently on the site there is a version of this class for Thesis 1.85 and a version of this class for Genesis. This is the first time we've taught this class, though, for Thesis 2. The type of site we are creating is a website that is suitable for service professionals and that looks good on mobile devices. So it's a site for architects, engineers, design professionals, coaches, consultants, contractors, subcontractors, any kind of that solopreneur kind of profession, anything where you might have some kind of a portfolio, where you may want to show pictures of work along with text that you've done, anything like that. That's what this kind of a site is intended for. The goal of the site is to help prospective customers find you when they're searching for your services online, right? I mean, that's really one of the main purposes for the site. Is for somebody to say, I want to find an architect in Edmonds, Washington. They sit down, they type out architect Edmonds, Washington, and they find you because you've created your site in such a way that they will. Now, the purpose of the site, of course, is to present your services. So we're going to be showing you how to display that kind of information on your site. It's to establish your credibility so that when people look at your site, they know that you are an expert in your field. And it's to reflect the uniqueness of your services by having a uniquely styled site. So this kind of a site actually has a unique architecture. Right? It's different than creating a site for selling products, and it's different than creating a site that's really just a blog. It's different than a membership site or an affiliate marketing site. And we have lots of people, I have lots of members who fit in those categories: selling products, building a membership site, creating an affiliate marketing site, and that kind of stuff. But that's not the site architecture that we're teaching here. It's not to say that this class won't be valuable for you if you are planning to build an online store, because it is going to be valuable, because we take on the task of building an online store after this class is finished. And the same thing is true with the membership site and that sort of thing. That's an extension of this class. But the architecture for this class is not going to follow those models. It's going to be specifically for a small business website. And we're going to be developing this site really in two phases. The first phase is as a completely static site. Now, what that means is that it doesn't have any blog component, any blog functionality. It's going to have pages that you create. You're going to enter the information in those pages in WordPress, and that's going to be the content that shows up on the site. That's what we mean by static. That is, your pages don't automatically change or automatically refresh when you make other changes someplace else on the site. And that's phase one, and that is enough for lots of different small business people. You know, if you don't have a whole bunch of content, and this is primarily a resume site for you that shows your services, shows examples of your work, and introduces people to you, you may be completely served by a static site without any blog component whatsoever. The second phase of this, though, is adding the simple content management system to it, or simple CMS. And that's essentially adding blog functionality. But we're going to add blog functionality not as a blog per se, right? We're going to use the blog functionality, but we're not creating a blog. What we'll be doing is creating a set of articles that demonstrate your expertise in the place of a blog, but we'll be using the blog functionality for that. So it's going to have, the class has essentially two phases to it in that regard. And the tools that we're going to actually use a predefined set of tools. All right, we're going to use WordPress naturally, and we're starting off with WordPress 3.5. I'm sure that will be I'm sure 3.6 isn't going to be out by the time we are finished with this class, so we'll be using WordPress 3.5. We'll be using the latest version of Thesis 2. Right now that's 2.0.3.1, but it will be, if another release comes out, we'll be switching to that one as well. We'll be using the latest version of the BYOB Agility Nude Skin. and we'll be talking more about that later. We'll also be using some Thesis2 boxes and packages that I've already created and some that I will be creating in the not very distant future. We'll be using the Next Gen Gallery plugin, the Meteor Slider plugin, the Contact Form 7 plugin, and then various Google products. So these are the tools that we're going to use to build this site. Now, the reason we are using those tools is because I've tested them together and I know that they work well together, and they can all be used without learning any CSS or PHP. And so essentially they can all be used without learning or knowing any code. And so that's why we're using those tools specifically. There are lots of other tools that could be used that may require additional knowledge, or there may be other alternatives for these things. But I've picked a set of tools that works very well, that's well supported, and that's not going to require you to have or obtain any code knowledge in order to use properly.